So let's transition next to the real estate statistics for the month. Some interesting stats this month that kind of surprised me a little bit as I look at them. But the July stats just came out for GTAR, the Greater Tampa Association of Realtors, and the My Florida Regional MLS. And so in July of 2017, the average sale price in Tampa was $258,500 and change. 2.4 months of inventory. 3,277 homes sell. The average home selling for 97% of the asking price. Average days on market about 54. So when you hear those stats, obviously our market is in a great place. It's very healthy. But putting them into context, a couple things I wanted people to pay attention to. Firstly, last month in June, we had the highest average sale price that we had seen in a decade at $273,716. Wow. This month it was $258,000. That's a 5 to 6% drop off month over month in the average sale price. That's pretty substantial.
It's big in 1 month.
You know, so for example, July dropped down below May even in terms of the average sale price. So we had multiple months this year where it's rising and then it drops off in July. Now, historically, the average sale price in June is always almost the peak of the year, and July is always a little bit lower. A little bit. We're talking a percentage point, not 5 or 6 percentage points. We also saw a drop in home sales from June to July, which is also pretty typical. But the drop that we saw this year was more substantial than normal, about a 10% drop. Normally, again, it's a few percentage points. So there are some skeptics out there and some people saying, is this the start of a stabilization or a slowdown? And it's hard. You can't really hang your hat on 1 month of stats, but it is a very, I look back through the stats, the month over month, drops in average sale price, and it's the largest. These stats only go back about 5 years, but I've gone back 10, and it's the largest month over month drop in the average sale price that I've seen. So there are a lot of people now waving their flags saying, oh, the crash is coming. And I don't think that's certainly the case, but there's no doubt that affordability has been a struggle. The prices have risen so dramatically, and we've seen interest rates. So I think there's no question that there's some movement and room for some stabilization and maybe a little bit of drop in that price. But I certainly didn't expect it to be a month-over-month average drop of 5 or 6 percentage points. So home sellers and home buyers, as you're listening to this, please take that into consideration. As a home seller, this idea that prices just keep going up and going up and going up and going up, and I'm going to ask more than my neighbor sold a month ago, it's flawed. Your neighbor sold a month ago in June, prices were 5 or 6 points higher based on the average numbers. So just keep that in mind when you're getting advice to sell your home. Prices don't go up forever. Eventually they start to drop some, and this could be the start of that trend. So, and again, still fantastic numbers. I mean, still year over year better than we were last year, better than the year before that, better than the year before that. But when you start to look month over month, we're starting to see some drops that we haven't seen in a while. And my expectation is that when we see this stabilization, we're going to see prices return back to 2015 and 2016 numbers and kind of probably stabilize there. I think this year is certainly, from what I'm looking at, probably the peak in terms of value. And there's a lot of good that can come with that. There's certainly some bad. But starting to see some softening there that we haven't seen in a while. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens with August's stats. Do we see another downward trend or not?
I'll say from my personal business, and Richard and I were talking about this earlier, I could tell on my, the amount of business I was doing in July, it was slower than it has been, but it seems like August and even September are already stronger than what July was. So hopefully we're kind of back to where we were a couple months ago.
Because our businesses, we have a little bit of lead time built in.
No doubt.